Welcome back! Last time, we learned about Samuel and how God spoke to him and told him that Eli and his wicked sons, Hophni and Phinehas, would be punished for their wickedness against God. If you haven't seen the previous video, it's titled Samuel, and I recommend watching it before you watch this one. Now let's get into it. Israel went out to battle against the Philistines. But God did not go with them, so they lost the battle, and 4,000 men died. This is why we go to battle with God. He always wins. The Israelites knew this, and so they were very discouraged. Then the elders and leaders got together with an idea. Let's send for the Ark of the Covenant. That is God's seat, and if we take him to battle, we'll win. All the soldiers left over from the previous slaughter thought that was a great idea. So they sent for the Ark of the Covenant, and Hophni and Phinehas brought it to the battlefield. The army was so excited. They just knew that God was with them and that they were going to win and be saved from being the slaves to the Philistines. There was music and shouting and a great amount of noise. So much noise, in fact, that the Philistine camp heard it and wondered. "What is all this noise from the Israelite camp?" asked the Philistines to each other, until they discovered that the Ark of the Lord had been brought into the military camp of the Israelites. "Oh no! Their God is going to fight for them! We're doomed! That's the same God that destroyed the mighty Egyptians with plagues!" "All right, men," shouted the general. "Be strong and fight hard, or we will be the servants of the Hebrews. Be strong like men and fight to the death!" So the battle was hot, and the Philistines fought with all their might. And the Israelites fought too, for a little while. And then they realized they were losing bad, and everyone ran full speed back to their tents. 30,000 men died as they ran away. Not only did the Philistines slaughter the Israelites, but as a battle prize, they took the Ark of the Covenant, and both Hophni and Phinehas were killed. That was a bad day for Israel. Meanwhile, in Shiloh, Eli sat down on a bench to wait and hear the news of the battle. He was very worried about the Ark of God. It was a terrible idea for them to take it into battle. Then, a foot soldier came running up the path at full speed. He ran past Eli and went into the city shouting the news. The whole city began to cry and wail. Finally, Eli got the soldier's attention. "What's happening? What? Tell me!" We're slaughtered," he panted, gasping for breath. "Your boys, Hophni and Phinehas, they're dead, both of them. I'm so sorry, Eli." "Yes, but the Ark! What has happened to the Ark?" demanded Eli. "The Philistines captured it, sir." And when Eli heard that the Ark was captured by a pagan, idol-worshipping army, he fell backwards off the bench and broke his neck. He was old and heavy, and he died. That day, all the people in the prime of life in Eli's family died, just as the Lord had told Samuel. Now, we will visit the Philistines and see what happened to the Ark. The people were so happy, I can't even describe it. They had conquered the God who had drowned the mighty Egyptians in the Red Sea, or so they thought. The first thing they did when they got back to the city of Ashdod was to put the Ark of God into the temple of their god, Dagon. Well, bright and early the next morning, when the men of Ashdod went into the temple, they were horrified to see their god, Dagon, fallen with his face on the floor as if he were bowing down and worshiping the Ark of the Covenant. My, that was embarrassing. Quickly, the priests and the men of Ashdod picked up their beloved idol, propped him back into his standing position, and resumed the worship of Dagon for the day. The next morning, when the men of the town went to worship Dagon, they were aghast to see him once more on his face before the Ark of God. Only this time, his entire head was broken off and was rolling around on the floor, and so were his hands. In fact, the only thing left of Dagon was his stump. But that's not the only thing that went wrong after the Ark arrived in Ashdod. Rats began eating the land and ruining everything. And terrible plagues tormented the people, young and old, and those that didn't die suffered from terrible bumps and sores. It was really bad. So the men of Ashdod said, "We don't want that thing here anymore. The Israelite God has cut off the head of our God, and now he's killing our people, and rats are destroying the land. I'm scared of that thing. What if my head falls off? Send it to Gath. The giants there can deal with it." So they loaded it up and sent it over to Gath. When it arrived, the people of Gath were immediately struck with the same rats and diseases that the people of Ashdod had. It didn't matter if you were a poor beggar or a princess. Everyone got sick. Finally, the people of Gath loaded up the ark and sent it to Ekron. When the men of Ekron saw the ark, they panicked. "You can't send that thing here! We will all die! They're trying to kill us!" So the leaders got all together and had a serious meeting. "Okay," the leader of Ascalon said. "What are we worried about after all? What is the big deal?" "Wait a minute," interrupted the Lord of Ashdod. "Apparently, you haven't been struck by this disease, and your people aren't dying right and left." "That's right. Our people are dying, and if they don't die, they get these horrible tumor things, and rats have infested our land and are destroying everything," the Lord of Ekron interjected. "Not to mention that our God has lost his head, literally," emphasized the Lord of Ashdod. "I suggest," the Lord of Gath broke in, "that we get rid of the ark as soon as possible." "Wait," Ascalon said. "There's no proof that the ark is the problem. This could just be chance." "No proof!" exclaimed Ekron. "No proof! Are you blind?" "Okay," Gaza said slowly. "If you would like to take that ark into your land, Ascalon, we'd all be happy to give you a turn." "Oh, I didn't mean that," said Ascalon. "Just how do we know it's not chance that all these terrible things are happening?" "Hello! Everywhere that thing goes, along come the rats and tumors and death. How can you say this is just chance?" The Lord of Ashdod rolled his eyes. "Are you or are you not willing to house the ark of the Israelite God for a time?" asked Gaza. "Oh, I'm not one for inviting trouble," said Ascalon. "Then I say we send that thing back where it came from," Ekron exclaimed. But it's our war prize," Ascalon whined. "Do you want it?" All the lords looked expectantly at him. "No," he pouted. "Me neither, so it's settled," Gaza said. "How shall we send it back?" The leaders called the priests of Dagon to decide how to send it back and get the plagues lifted, if indeed it wasn't just chance. The priest answered immediately. "Clearly there needs to be some kind of guilt offering here, since you have offended their god. Otherwise you wouldn't be plagued so. Make 5 golden tumors and 5 golden rats, 1 for each of the lords of the Philistines, and send it along with the ark. Next, take 2 milk cows that have never pulled an ox cart before and tether them to a new ox cart built for the occasion. Then take their calves away from them and lock them in the barn. Put the ark and the guilt offering on the cart and send it off without a driver. If it goes straight to Israel, you'll know that it's their God that has plagued us." "No joke," said Gath. "It's impossible that that thing makes it back to Israel in one piece. And if it falls off the cart on the way home and is smashed into 1,000,000 pieces, well, that's fine with me." So they loaded up the ark and the guilt offering onto a new cart, hitched 2 milk cows that had never pulled anything before to it, shut their calves up in the barn, and started them off to Israel. Instead of running away in a cloud of dust, terrified because the clattering cart chasing them, the milk cows walked slowly and smoothly in a straight line toward Israel, just as if there had been a driver, and just as if they had pulled a cart before and didn't have calves. And to the shock of all the Philistines, the cows went along the road, mooing for their calves as they went, and hardly jostling the ark at all. Meanwhile, the Israelites were harvesting wheat in the field of Joshua when somebody noticed the mooing. "Hey Joshua, your cows are out again." "There's no way they're out again," growled Joshua. "Besides, the field is over there, and the mooing is coming from— Hey, there's cows coming down the road from the land of the Philistines." "No, that's not just cows. They're hooked to a cart. Hey, man, that's a good driver. Look how smooth it's going." a hired worker stated. But it's coming from the Philistine territory. That's fishy, Joshua emphasized. Yeah, what's the trick? Wait, there's no driver, look! The worker pointed. That's impossible. But you're right. There is no driver. Another worker stopped and squinted down the road. Hey, look what's in the cart. It's glinting like the sun. It's gold! Okay, this is really fishy, Joshua stated flatly. It's the ark, shouted a servant. The ark! Impossible! Imagine that. The Philistines are returning it. Come on, let's go see. The 5 Philistine lords had followed the ark until they saw it safely reached Israel. When it was willingly received by the Israelites, they turned again and went home to their lands, relieved, and absolutely sure that Dagon was no match for the God of the Hebrews. Well, next time we're together, we will hear about another battle between Israel and the Philistines. You'll have to tune in to see if it turns out any better than this one did. Until then, so long!